During the years of the anti-apartheid struggle, Bonteheuwel on the Cape Flats became known for its militancy and open confrontation with police. It produced its own armed unit known as the Bonteheuwel Military Wing, as well as many well-known MK cadres. But Bonteheuwel paid a high price for this. Many lives were destroyed or lost. Annalisa Burgess takes up the story.
This is Bonteheuwel on the Cape Flats, a traditional coloured working class area that became the crucible for militant anti-apartheid defiance in the Cape. Here, generations of hardline activists, young street fighters and MK guerrillas fought the police and the state in a head-on battle. In the 80s, Bonteheuwel responded to ever-increasing police action against them by forming the Bonteheuwel Military Wing, a self-defense unit drawn mainly from school children, many of whom were on the run from police.
Yeah, the Bonteheuwel Military Wing started precisely because we needed to respond to the manner in which the state operated. We needed to defend ourselves, defend our community, because the period, as if our community were under siege, you had a situation where there were police foot patrols, and I'm talking about constant foot patrols, almost 24-hour foot patrols. You had constant surveillance of activists, their houses. You had a situation where people were detained at random. People were basically just taken out of the classrooms.
At that time, we thought, well, these people wanted to make war. They fighting us. We were only SRC students speaking out, and now they're fighting us. So we had to retaliate. BMW was the youth league of MP. We were the ones who did the fighting in Bonteheuwel.
Towards the late 80s, a number of the trained MK cadres who graduated from the military wing lost their lives in action. First there was Anton Fransch, who was killed in a 7-hour shootout with police. This week, a former MK member confessed to having given Anton Fransch's hiding place away during torture.
And then there was silence. Somebody shouted that it was over. In my head, I heard all the time. And even now, although this time I'm also asking the same question. Who sold me to the police? Who sold me to the police? Anton died. With that question on his mouth.
Then came the death of MK commander Ashley Creel. He fled the country in 1985 at the age of 18. When his family saw him again 2 years later, it was to identify his body in a state mortuary.
I will never forget that sight. He had a little moustache, a nice curly top hair, and just to see that he has grown into manhood. He wasn't, he was still very young, but to see my little brother that has grown into a beautiful, strong-built young man was just that really made me strong.
The police said Ashley Creel died in a police swoop on this safe house in Athlone. They said his gun accidentally went off when they tried to disarm him. But the sisters of Ashley Creel came to this house after seeing the address in an unattended file at the mortuary. The blood splattered all over this house has led them to believe that not only was he murdered by the police, but that they also first tortured him brutally.
The other version again was that heard on Saturday was that Ashley was, in fact, Imtiaz was taken into a room and his sister and were sort of tortured, while Ashley in the front room was being beaten up, and he was hit with a spade on the forehead, and then either the throat or whichever part of the neck was also slit. It sounded as if a sheep had been slaughtered the way he screamed, and when they realized that he could be brain dead, they put him in a chair, handcuffed him, and so that the blood could run down, and then put him on his stomach, shot him afterwards.
The funeral of Ashley Creel in July 1987 turned into yet another battle between police and militant activists.
The South African police cannot live without violence. They are absolute pigs, and this is my problem with them.
2 years later, activists again gathered at a grave, this time to lay to rest Robbie Waterwitch and Colleen Williams. But the victims of Bontehevel's violent confrontation with apartheid are not only the ones lying in Cape Town's graveyards. For every martyr, there are many, many more grappling with the destruction of their lives.
What does a person do with all these years being on the run from the cops? Never slept at home. He's away from home for 3-4 years. The only thing he knows is how to fight. What does he do? How does he survive in the community? Fighting became so important to us then. Like, I myself don't know how to talk properly in this New South Africa. We are fighting within ourselves now. We are not fighting a war on the street. I can still remember Comrade Ashley Kirill's words. He said, once we've won the struggle, once we've won the battle, we must still win the struggle. And one day, I asked him, what did he mean by that word? And he said, we will win the struggle, but it's not a struggle. The first struggle is against the apartheid regime. That will win easy. But the second struggle we are fighting is the struggle within the struggle amongst ourselves.